Hello guys! Today I want to make a quick video, a bit shorter than usual, and we'll go over 9 mistakes that a lot of investors make, okay? So the issue number one and mistake number one is that a lot of investors out there are actually paying too much for investing, okay? They are, for example, maybe investing into mutual fund, which will have much higher management expense ratio as well as some commissions. So you should really, consider investing instead into index fund or ETFs, which have much lower fees. And I made a video on that subject that I'll link down below, so you can dive a bit more into this decision between mutual funds, so actively managed funds, or passively managed funds. That's an important point. Now, point number 2, which is failing to properly diversify. So typically you don't want to put all your eggs in the same basket, as the expression goes. If you are investing into individual stock, you really need to keep this in mind. If you are investing into ETF, you are already a step ahead, where an ETF is already a bit more diversified. Now you still don't want to be investing into one sector only, like only one sector, because then you are prey to that sector doing well. So you also want to be diversified across different sector, different industries. Same thing, you don't want to invest all into small cap or large cap. You want to be diversified. So you want to invest a bit in stocks, of course, and a bit in bond as well, to give you a bit more of a secured base. And one way to think about how to invest into stocks is to think about value and growth, and then think about small and large cap. Have a broad diversification, having a bit of value, a bit of growth, some small cap, some large cap, maybe some medium cap, to touch a bit more of different style of stocks. And then you also want to think about the localization, like the geographic localization of those stocks. So you want some in the US or North American markets, some in the European market, maybe some developing markets as well. 3, which is to take an inappropriate amount of risk. So that too many people out there are just taking too much risks, okay? Like in the 2000 with the .com bubble, where some people put all their eggs into the tech sector because they're like, wow, it's booming. Well, next thing you know, the bubble burst, and then they saw like a big downturn, and a lot of businesses just, failed completely, and a lot of investors just lost a lot of money. So even if something is doing very well right now, okay, technology right now is doing very well, you still don't want to have all your eggs into technology, and have, some diversification. Also, you don't want to be the other extreme, where you don't take enough risks, where you have all your eggs into, maybe some high interest paying account, just because then you're missing out on a lot of potential returns. So you need to strike a balance between taking too much risk and not enough risks. So you need to be able to stomach some risks, okay? Because you want to be able to account for inflation. If you don't take any risks and you invest all your money into a 1% return type of account, well, you're actually losing money with that type of investment due to inflation. Generally speaking, like the more time you spend without you invest, and then the more time you spend without touching that money, the more risk you can take, okay, over a longer period of time. Then number 4 would be people selling out of their stock when it's getting tough, when there's a downturn. If you cannot stomach like a 10, 20, maybe 40% downturn, well, first of all, you should know that you should add more bonds to your allocation, just so that at least in those downturns, it won't be affecting your portfolio as much, and it will just make you feel a bit better. And even more so, it should be like short-term bonds, like treasury bond, government bonds, like just short-term bonds, which would typically fare better and do better during a downturn. You should just know that it's going to happen, okay? Throughout your life, as an investor, there is going to be downturns, okay? The present situation is showing it to you, and 10 years down the line, we'll have a new one, maybe even sooner, who knows? So just know that it is just the overall, process, the life process of an investor, where there is going to be downturn. You just need to be ready, know that it's coming, be prepared mentally, physically be prepared to resist the urge to sell when there's a downturn. And that's true even if you are a diversified type of investor, okay? There's going to be downturns. Now, if you are investing into ETF, you're a bit more covered. If you are investing into, single stocks, that's just a reminder to remind you guys that you need to, on a regular basis, do your homework again and again to make sure that all the stocks that you're investing into are actually still, being healthy and growing as you want them to grow, and just meeting the objective that you bought them for. Then number 5 is just to put too much importance into the recent performance of a stock or an ETF or some type of fund. A lot of people, they see a fund that's going down and they're like, oh my God, they sell. And then they eye out a bit of the market and they see that fund that recently was doing very well and they're like, oh, that's the one that I want. And they buy that one. Well, that's the wrong way to go, okay? Because present and past performance shouldn't, influence you to making decision. Now, if over like a 15-year period you see the stock or that fund is not doing well, okay, that makes sense. That you can take into account as part of your decision, even though it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to keep doing this. Like you can't be sure for 100%, but at least it makes more sense. But if you look into, last year this fund did very well, or I'm going to invest into this one, but you don't look for a long period of time, that's a bad way to go. Then number 6 would be that you are not saving enough money, okay? And compared to spending, okay, saving doesn't bring any short-term burst of joy for a lot of people, I know. But, material things is not what's going to bring you happiness. What's going to bring you happiness is having a goal, a purpose, and then every day working toward that goal. And one goal that you could have is to be investing more, saving more, okay, building more wealth. And if you start to have this mentality, then saving more is not going to become a burden and like a pain. Instead, it's almost going to become a pleasure, which actually could become, a downside in a way, because then you can dive into this spiral of always trying to save more, up to a point where it could be almost too much, compromising your life enjoyment and your basic necessities in some cases, because it becomes like an addiction where you try to save more and more. But that's another subject for another video. This psychological aspect that a lot of people end up having and diving into too deep. But yeah, at least you want to be conscious of that and try to save as much as you can in a healthy way. I'll leave it at that. Now, point 7, which be having unrealistic expectation of the market returns. One reason why some people don't save enough and don't invest enough is that they're expecting the return that they're going to get on the investment to be bigger than what it's going to be. They're like, it's going to double in size within 2 years. I can see this. Truth is, over the last 100 years, the stock, if you had 100% of your money in stocks, would have maybe returned on average of, let's say, 10%, to make it simple. You shouldn't expect, to get even that 10% or have better than 10% over a long period of time, especially if you're not 100% into stocks. Like, you should be realistic with how much you can expect as returns. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. And this 10% doesn't take into account taxes and inflation. If you take this into account, it might drop down to like 7%, 6% in some cases. So yeah, you want to be mindful on the fact that, sometimes all the returns that you see out there, 10% returns, okay, but it over the long term, okay, you might not get those returns, and you need to take into account inflation and taxes. Okay, because like a US study performed between 1999 and 2008 showed that taxes reduced the annual return of equity mutual fund by 1.13 percent points on average. And for bond funds, it actually was worse at 2.13 percent points of the annual returns. And that's one reason is that a lot of the returns in bonds is actually interest, which is being taxed at 100%, like any income, whereas stocks, like a lot of the return is either not being taxed if it is capital gains and you're not taking the money out, and if it's dividend and it's like a local dividend, like in your country, sometimes it's being taxed at a preferential rate. And even if you do capitalize on the gain of the capital gain, capital gains are also taxed at a lower percentage than regular income, or like income, like interest income from bonds. Now, number 8, which I already mentioned several times already throughout this video, is to discount the damaging effect of inflation. And I guess I could add taxes as well here, but yeah, we'll talk about inflation. Inflation, I made a video that I'll link down below and up there, which, it's the silent killer. It's there, you don't really see it, don't think about it. It's not physical, but it's eating through your money, through your gains. If you have a pile of cash, due to inflation, that pile of cash will be the same. You look at it, but like, yep, still have my cash. But actually this pile of cash year over year is being able to buy less and less things, which at the end of the day, that's what you care about. It's not having that, all that cash in hand. What you want is, what is it worth? Like, how much can you buy using that pile of cash? So that's where inflation is your enemy. And you want to keep this in mind. When you have returns, okay, like 6% return, 10% return, etc., you want to factor in inflation. That only makes sense. And the 9th and final point is to fail to incorporate investment into a broad financial plan. If all you think about is stock investing, you are probably not optimizing your return, and your overall financial plan is not solid enough. So you want to think about like life insurance, okay? So that in the event of your death, well, if you have kids that you are responsible for, that they will have some kind of help, same for your partner. So at least your income will be replaced in some ways. And same thing, having a strong financial plan isn't complete if you don't also have some kind of real estate plan. I mean, you could think about renting for the rest of your life. And in some scenarios, it can make sense, in some markets, and for some type of investors, it can make sense. But at least you want to have this reasoning and this thought process for your situation. If you don't think about it, you are potentially missing out on a lot of gains, so yeah, you need to think about the full picture, your full financial plan, and not dive down into investment and only focus on that. So that was the last and 9th point that I wanted to touch base with you guys on this video. Hopefully it was helpful. If you liked, share, subscribe, like, everything, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, have a good one. Cheers.